That was Beyonce singing her song Daddy Lessons at the 2016 CMA Awards, and at some point during the 6-minute performance, Alan Jackson supposedly stood up from his seat in the front row and walked out in protest. Supposedly. Y'all, we've run with this for nearly a decade, and it's grown into this legend that gasses up the debate about what is and what isn't country music. I don't think it's true. I think we got played, and I think I can convince you the same. Furthermore, I can tell you what Alan really did that night after his performances at the show. It's a big detail, and it changes everything. One reason we think that Alan Jackson protested Beyonce's performance at the 2016 CMA Awards is because, at a glance, Alan Jackson kind of seems like the guy who would totally do this sort of thing. That video you just saw was from the 1999 CMAs when they went and let George Jones sing his song Choices, so Alan did it for him.
I had choices from the day that I was born. There were voices.
5 years earlier at the ACMs, he protested being told to play to a track by telling his drummer to go out there without sticks. Alan's talked about both events. He's owned his bold opinions and felt really free to do whatever he wants on stage and off. I once made a video called Alan Jackson is One Bad Mother Effer that has even more evidence of this kind of thing, including the move he used to meet his wife. It's totally bananas, and it might even get him arrested in the 21st century. Big, bold, public. Remember that. The other reason we think Alan Jackson stood up and walked out on Beyonce is because of this quote. It's the origin point. A Nashville manager said, quote, "I was sitting behind Alan Jackson and he actually stood up from the front row and walked out in the middle of the performance. So I think that spoke volumes for the traditional, real country acts." The 2016 CMA Awards were the 50th CMA Awards, and the show was heavy on tributes. Alan performed 2 times. He opened the show as part of a great medley of classic hits that included Randy Travis doing this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, Randy Travis.
Later, he joined George Strait for sort of an all-time in memoriam, singing 2 songs, Remember When and Troubadour. There were 9 performances between those 2 moments, but the cameras never showed Alan in the crowd. And this is the first problem with this legend. In an era of camera phones and multiple television cameras, not only did nobody catch Alan leaving, no one even snapped a pic or a video of Alan being in the crowd in the first place. He was front row, remember? That's what our man said, but after watching about 90% of the show on YouTube, Dailymotion, and at least one website that tried to convince me Taylor Swift was a Soviet spy, I can tell you he is absolutely nowhere to be found. I couldn't even spot his white cowboy hat during overhead crowd shots like this one. This makes sense in some ways. Alan's a little shy. A dressing room or a tour bus may have been welcome retreats for him between songs, but it makes the story of him standing up from his front row seat a bit problematic. The second piece of evidence is a matter of logistics. Would Alan even had time to get to his seat to see Beyonce, and if so, why would he? Multiple sources confirmed the show's order, but I'll show you the Wikipedia version because it's the cleanest. Keith Urban's performance of Blue Ain't Your Color was the only thing between Alan and George and Beyonce, so Alan would have had between 4 and 8 minutes to get back to his seat if there was a commercial break, and I'm guessing there probably was. I talked with several people close to the show and was told this is totally doable. You put your guitar down, you wipe your sweat, maybe take a sip of water, shake a couple hands, maybe change outfits if you need to. Some artists require an outfit change, and Alan did change shirts a couple of times through the night. He would have never made it back in time for Keith Urban's performance, much like Keith didn't make it back for Beyonce, as we know because we can see Nicole dancing alongside a seat filler during Daddy Lessons. Still, it's easy to see him breezing back to sit next to Denise within 6 or 7 minutes, except for in 2016, Alan was not a man who moved quickly. He wouldn't reveal his Charcot-Marie tooth disease diagnosis for another 5 years, but in 2021 he'd admit it had been an issue for a while, and anyone who saw him perform live would probably agree. So, does the guy who is going to protest Beyonce painfully rush to his seat to get there in time, and then protest in a way that literally only one other person sees? This is Alan Jackson of the big, bold, public statements, remember, not someone who's just going to sort of skunk off in a huff. Compare what he did in 1999 and 1994 to this, and the latter seems a little bit petty, doesn't it? Officially, Alan never commented on the protest, which is telling because Alan isn't afraid to stand up for traditional country music publicly. No one, and I mean not one single person, ever stood up and said that they also saw Alan stand up and walk out on Beyonce. While Billboard is a really reputable outlet, the source was an unnamed Nashville manager and clearly one with an opinion. Quote, "I think it was a flat performance overall, and a lot of industry people I have talked with were not impressed for a variety of reasons." That doesn't pass the eye test. I mean, do Dierks Bentley and Miranda Lambert look unimpressed? Does Joe Bouncel of the Oak Ridge Boys look annoyed? Does this sound like an audience that didn't appreciate what they just saw? All of this is to say, that person is not a reliable, objective narrator. Furthermore, Alan had expressed some level of understanding about award shows bringing in pop stars. Like, literally, he said he understood. Nobody knew Beyonce was going to perform until about 24 hours before, when the news leaked. Alan actually talked to Yahoo for an interview that published the day of the show and was directly asked about pop and rock guests at the CMA Awards. Quote, "Yeah, they may play some real country music, but I understand the dang television station trying to get the ratings with whatever they think is going to prop it up with some big event with some other type of artist on there. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good country music show for a change." I hardcore wrestle with that quote. On one hand, he seems resigned to the need for out-of-genre superstars. He understands. Literally, that's the opposite of an angry protest, but he also has hopes for an all-country show. Here are photos of some of the other performers from the night, and as you can see, it was the usual mix of traditional and pop-friendly country stars, with two more notable classic country medleys. Had TMZ or a less reputable gossip site been the origin source, I think we would have dismissed this. But this Nashville manager told Billboard. Or did he? Scroll up just a little bit in that article. The words "tells Billboard" are never used. And the paragraph before refers to reaction on social media. So who said it? Did anyone say it? Or see it? From there, assume someone did see it. But how does that person know what Alan's intentions are? He might have had to use the bathroom, or fill his drink, take a call, or go watch Game 7 of the World Series between the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. That's exactly what he did after the CMAs. In fact, I got confirmation that Alan was at a record label party before Brad Paisley even closed the show that year. The Cubs were threatening to win their first World Series since before Jesus was born. It was an extra inning game and it totally stole CMA's ratings, so Alan was far from the only one that was more interested in baseball than country music. I can't lie, I flipped over to watch a few times myself. So, did he have Beyonce on his mind when he left? Whenever he left? Or did he have baseball on his mind? I'll close by adding that I spoke to 4 people for this story. 3 were very close to the reporting, and 1 more was really helpful in explaining how award shows work. Y'all, if anyone ever did an oral history of this event, it would go global because there are details not related to Alan that are just wild. None of the sources I spoke to could tell a story of Alan protesting, and few even believed it actually happened. There was nothing like an indisputable or even verifiable source. So, I'll ask you, is this single unnamed source enough to confirm the legend? Or should we all, myself included, have stopped to cast just a little bit of doubt when no video, second source, or statement from Alan or Beyonce's team came forward? If you appreciated this video, I've dropped a link to another one I think you'll enjoy right here. I'm Billy Dukes for Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.